I'm Andrew Gabriel. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer about 2.5 years ago, and I've gone through fair period of diagnosis and then treatment. And I've been on hormone therapy for a long time, actually finishing very recently, although the effects are still there at the moment. So it's interesting to look back over that. And I find it very interesting to look back at my reaction to actually getting prostate cancer, which is not at all what I would have imagined. I I kind of had thought about, in my thinking ahead, I might get cancer, and that seemed, to be quite a devastating prospect, and it sure is for a lot of people. But my reaction surprised me a bit. I found it interesting. It's not like I had any choice about the matter, but my background is very much to sort of research areas that I'm interested in, to investigate things actually in a lot of depth, that possibly sort of somewhat obsessively. So I've done things before, like installing central heating, where I went off and learned all the regs, learned everything that was required, and did that myself to quite a high degree. And I've done things like electrical wiring, which I've done pretty much as a hobby, but also when I worked for a small company, actually building computer centers, and got myself qualified as an electrician. These are bizarre things because they're really hobbies, and I found investigating the prostate cancer was a useful hobby. Now, my diagnosis was quite a protracted affair. This actually gave me a lot of time between the appointments to go off and start reading research papers and trying to understand where I was, what the implications were, what was likely to affect me, and to keep me like one step ahead, so that I understood what was likely to happen at the next consultation, and I knew what the consultant was going to talk to me about and what my options were, which was kind of useful, because nothing very much came as a surprise to me through the consultations. Even the moment when I was actually told I got cancer, I was expecting it because I'd read around, I looked around and looked at my circumstances and thought, it seems most likely that I do have prostate cancer. And so when I was told I did have it, it was no surprise. What I found after I'd gone through this was I wasn't really involved in any of the support groups or talking with other people at this stage. So it was all new to me. I was just learning this for my own benefit. But I did start to get involved in one or two support groups. And I found that the knowledge that I built up was actually really useful for talking to other people and helping support other people, because not many people are actually kind of obsessive as I am in going down and diving down into things, which meant that I had some knowledge that I could share. And gradually this became more and more useful. A couple of my consultants commented to me that I'm what they call an expert patient, which was not a term I'd come across before. And one of them actually, suggested I really ought to spend some time talking to support groups, which I started doing initially at Mount Vernon Hospital. And I found I really enjoyed doing this, and went on and developed some sort of regular sessions I do. Some people may be aware that I do a session called Surviving Hormone Therapy. Well, I was on hormone therapy, so of course I'd gone and read all about it, and to understand what it does, what its side effects are, how you avoid the side effects or work around them or minimize the damage that they do to you. So this was all useful material to start to put into a presentation. And I've built that up over, must be about 18 months now. That session I've run it 25 times to about 500 attendees. So it's been quite popular, as well as some other sessions. But it's strange. What do I get out of this? Well, I actually really enjoy communicating and presenting. That was what I did in my previous working life. I did a lot of computer demos, live demos, which I love doing. Most presenters terrified of them because they're worried they're going to go wrong. But actually going wrong and fixing them was, that makes more of a presentation than if it just runs smoothly. And it's much the same. I'm happy with things being thrown at me, and I'll try and smooth over and explain where I can. But I also do sort of quite a lot of one-to-one support, and that's also it's really satisfying to get to the end of a one-to-one session and think to yourself, I think I've got that person into a better state than they were at the outset. And for me, that's really satisfying. And it's kind of strange, actually, because I'm getting this satisfaction out of somebody else's illness, and that you do sometimes feel guilty about that. But I think the net effect is that I'm improving their outcome significantly in terms of at least emotional state, and possibly suggesting things they might talk to their consultants about. So I shouldn't really feel guilty about it, but it does, it is the thoughts gone through my mind, and I've talked with some of the other people that do that work, and it does come up from time to time. Right. So if I had to sort of summarize what I've gone through for people who are embarking on this path, not everybody's going to sit down and read research papers. In fact, very few people will do that. Be very careful of what you pick up off the internet, of people's YouTube videos and the like. Some of them can be useful, but the credibility of them is a little bit questionable. But above all, I would say engage with other patients. And the easiest way to do that actually is to go along to a support group. You may not think you're a support group person. I didn't. It didn't appeal to me at all, but I thought I'll go and have a look. And people were so nice to me when I turned up to that first support group meeting. And it was just a fantastic environment. Men with prostate cancer, and indeed their partners, talk very freely about things that men just don't talk about normally. It becomes naturalized part of conversations. You can discuss things that you kind of a bit shy of talking about normally. In fact, I have to be a little bit careful that I don't open some of those conversations when I'm in the presence of men who don't have prostate cancer at all. So that can be a little bit embarrassing sometimes. But it is a great place. You'll get fantastic information about how to cope with things. When you're put on hormone therapy, you have a consultation that's probably 10 or 15 minutes. And there's nothing much the consultant can say to you in that period that's going to be useful to you. And the consultant's probably never been on hormone therapy themselves, so that they don't have the personal experience. You get that by talking with other patients. And that is really invaluable. When I run my session for patients originally in hospital, it's a half-day session. So you can see there's a vast difference between what you can learn in a 10-minute appointment from somebody that's never had the treatment themselves, and what you can pick up from 10 to 20 patients sitting around talking to each other. Just fantastic experience.